Welcome back to another wonderful episode of the Convoluted podcast. I'm your host, Liz, and I'm with Tyrant, Dominus, aka Jesus. And if it's your first time listening, we always love some extra subscribers, but we're not making you, but we appreciate it. How you doing, Jesus?
I'm doing fine. It's been a long week to get here, but as the day of the recording, I have started my vacation. So I'll be doing some fun stuff this week. If you are following the platform, or if you're following me on any social media, you'll see a lot more posts this week. I'm going to be streaming. I'm going to be doing some fun things for this week, minus this weekend. Hope you guys are all enjoying a wonderful weekend. It is Mother's Day here in the States. It was Mother's Day prior to this in Mexico. But yeah, how is your weekend? How are you treating your Mother's Day weekend, basically?
Well, my week's been good, somewhat busy.
You have to work.
Yes, I was getting there. I was working myself up to the fact that I have to work on Mother's Day night. So, for 3 freaking nights. So, I'm not looking forward to that. I'm not happy about it. Yeah.
Fun.
No bueno. And people are like, so when do you have the next day off? Or when do you come back to work? Oh, Friday. Wait, you get off at Wednesday morning and you go back to Friday? I'm like, yeah, that's how it goes. Exactly.
You gotta love it. You would think there should be certain things where parental figures should get like Mother's and Father's Days off.
I rubbed it in his face. I have been rubbing it for this last 2 weeks in his face to be like, what the hell, dude? You gave me Mother's Day. Like, that's not fair to me. I didn't do this. I didn't ask for this shit. You're supposed to give it to me. I was thinking, I'm working up to Mother's Day. That's fine. I can cruise into Mother's Day. Be fine. No. Opposite.
Oh, man, that's funny. But, it is what it is. We have to earn a living, but...
Yep, we all do.
But overall, how's the weekend so far treating you and your family so far? Because yeah, it's not the day of the release. This is Mother's Day's episode, but the day before, not yet. But it's like the weekend. Everyone treats like these kind of holidays as a weekend long thing. So
yeah.
How's the week been?
Last night I went out to Mutinous, a local brewery here that's gluten free. That was delicious. That was great. I had fried artichokes and fried chicken and some fried JoJo's and with the garlic sauce. It was delicious.
Oh, and then you also we were just talking about this before we were recording. Something we missed, both of us missed, and you mentioned is that there is an aurora borealis here near Oregon, all the way down here in Oregon. Which
all the way across the Midwest, pretty much up the northern all the way over there, across the northern part of the hemisphere or the states. So it's some beautiful pictures. Beautiful pictures,
and I was telling her that it sucks that we missed it because it's one of those things that you want to at least see once in your life, right? And normally you have to go really up north to catch these things and like plan a trip. And this literally was in our backyard, and we missed it. And I feel like we missed something fun. It's like missing a full total eclipse, a totality eclipse. I don't know. How do you feel about it?
Well, by the time I got home and took a cold shower to cool off in the very warm heat,
we could talk about that next too.
I'm not complaining.
I am.
I just completely spaced it. I was tired and ready to relax and didn't think about getting out in my pajamas to go back outside again.
I'm more in the point, I wish you didn't tell me because then I wouldn't have felt this way,
Oh, okay. My bad. I'm trying to keep you up with the times.
Uh, it's frustrating because it is one of those things where it's definitely a thing I want to
It
see.
wasn't broadcast as much, though. I think that's the problem too. I was only notified it at work from a coworker.
So I don't know. It is what it is. If it happens again, it's not impossible to happen again. But you know, if it does, cool. If it doesn't, well, time to plan a trip up north.
That means we'll have to take a trip north.
Yep. But talking about the weather, since we're up in the northern hemisphere, it is getting hot. We've been getting some awkward temps here. It's been reasonably cool, even though for spring.
50s, 40s at night, 50s during the day, I think.
But then
raining, cats and dogs.
But now we're getting that spike of heat. We went from 50s to nearly 90. I'm like 40 degrees of jump. I'm like, whew. It's one of the things where
that's a crazy jump for us. It's something you don't adjust overnight. It's like, oh God, what happened?
Yay, global warming. But yeah, it's rough. It's rough. That's kind of the reason why I slept through yesterday. I did work, but it's one of those things where I'm like, I was tired and the heat got me. Usually the heat wakes me up because I just wake up in that not cold sweat, like that's just sweat. It's so ugh. Mm-hmm. So like yourself, I had to take a nice cool shower to just kind of just get it off. And then I slept most of the evening away, and I thought I was gonna wake up somewhere later, but I just never woke up after that. I must have been exhausted.
You were tired.
I was just exhausted.
I know. I've been feeling that too lately. The last couple of weeks, all I want to do is like sleep 10 to 12 hours a night. God,
yeah. But we can't because we have a show to do. So
yes, we do.
Let's start with the first story because I know I would jump in for you if you fell into a lake. Would you jump in a lake for me if I needed to?
Yes. I find something to help you with too, like go grab a thing and then jump in.
You would at least try. Let's go with that. You would at least try.
Yeah, I at least try. Be like, holy crap, what did I do?
Because apparently,
I know I couldn't lift your weight up in a water, a body of water.
Well, you could just keep
I'm not capable of that.
You can buoy someone. You gotta keep them fit. You just gotta keep them until someone else comes around. Anyways.
True.
The reason we're saying this is because a lake claimed moment, man is left brain dead after being pushed into a lake by pals who knew he couldn't swim. So, when we were younger, you would mess around with your friends and stuff like that, like to an extent, but never to an unruly extent. Have I pushed someone who couldn't swim into a regular pool? Yes. Well, we're not assholes. It's a small pool you could get to where you can kind of walk and you would still help someone. But apparently these people pushed him and didn't even try to help for over 10 minutes. But we'll get into it. So, Christopher Gilbert, 26, was rushed to the hospital and put on life support, but has started to make some remarkable recovery after doctors said he was partially brain dead. That's serious. That is serious. So, Gilbert was with friends when he ended up in Lake Dearborn?
I don't know.
In Farmville.
Dearborn, that sounds about right, yeah.
Yeah. Louisiana, near the Arkansas border on April 14th. A female friend allegedly pushed Gilbert off the dock at the back of the restaurant that the group had visited. Gilbert had an aspiring doctor who had recently earned his master's degree and planned to go into medical school. And had been underwater for around 10 minutes. Oof, that's a long time underwater.
Jesus.
A video shared by CPC affiliated KSL seems to show the group of people looking into the water as they stood and sat at the dock. They just stood there. One person appeared to jump into the water from the dock, but it was a good Samaritan and unaffiliated with the group who pulled Gilbert off from the lake. Darson Faust, 20, was also dining at the restaurant when he rushed into the water and pulled Gilbert out. Gilbert was flown to Oshner LSU Health, where he was placed on life support with significant brain damage, and his family said the doctor called us in and told me that he at that time he was brain dead and The rest of his organs were starting to fail.
Oh,
Let's see, anything else more specific? It's just more sad. Call for his family is reportedly preparing to file a civil lawsuit against the restaurant. Why against the restaurant? That's interesting. The suit will allege the establishment which served alcohol and did not sufficiently restrict access to the water. Okay. Gilbert's family is also.
Except it was his friends who pushed him.
Yeah, so we'll get into this discussion.
Who's the dumbass? Okay, well, I wouldn't even be friends with that person anymore. That literally, they got the curses and the hexes going on with them right now.
So the family is also reported looking for the woman in the friendship group that to be arrested. Okay, and the defendant alleged criminals with less evidence. Okay, other. The U.S. Sun has reached out to the family. Okay, there's more photos of him. He seemed like a very inspired, like kid who's making it out, being potential. Okay, so let's get into it. What are your thoughts? First, just as the friend group, then we'll get into the lawsuits, friendship wise.
That is a shitty friend.
Friends. It's a group. It was a group. It was a group of friends.
It doesn't matter. They're shitty friend. They're friend. It's shitty friend. All of them are shitty friends. They are literally every single one of them are not good friends to him. That is some bullshit. Were they jealous that he's going off to do something better with his life? Oh, he put in the hard work.
One, and the shitty part is that 7, 8. It looks like there was 8 people on 8 people.
I'm just standing by and watching, doing nothing. I would never let you do that. I never would let that happen to you or anybody that I know. If we were ducking in the pool, that's a different story. But I mean, I would definitely send a floaty because there's a bunch of floaties always around.
20%.
I'm surprised that the doc didn't have some of that kind of flotation devices. But yeah, like I said, it's sad. It's scary. I wish nothing but the best for him, and hopefully he makes a full recovery and returns to being a doctor. That's my hope. So because he deserves to be a doctor.
So yeah, it's everything.
The plans and aspirations to do so.
So yeah, the quote justice for Chris. So as far as the friend group situation, I think these guys are complete. There's a thing when we all have that one friend. Definitely, there's a one or a few friends that are just that dick of the group, the asshole of the group. You're friends with them to be friends with them. Everyone's have had that, but having a full group of them, that is a very toxic friend group. Definitely. Not to say that that's to diswell the thing where it's like you keep that asshole friend. Sometimes there are things, there are situations. But having a full group of them, that's when you start have to contemplate like what the fuck, what is happening here. And we don't know the full story as far as this friend group, but definitely it's after there's like a timer, right? Of like how long someone will be underwater. 10 minutes is way too much. I would say, not even counting that he couldn't swim, I would say 2 minutes, because I personally, I think I can. The last time I tried, I think I can hold my breath for like under 90 seconds. More than a minute, but just under 90 seconds. So if I was still messing around, I could probably hold my breath for over a minute before anything. So anything for me personally, over 2 minutes, no help after that, that's pushing it. 5 minutes, definitely. Like I think my opinion, 3 minutes, you gotta jump in, help.
Yeah, I think after a couple minutes, all right, that's fine. Let's get him out. Let's grab a hand. Like, let's try and make him in. All right, jump in, go grab him. But
mostly when
letting him just watch and flounder. Like,
mostly when
Dad, this happening right here.
Or at least the other thing is calling for help. It sounds like they were at a restaurant, a restaurant nearby, so there was potentially people around because there was someone, a good Samaritan. Luckily, this hero jumped in and helped the group, or helped Chris, not the groups. So kudos to him. Now let's go back to the family. The family suing the the restaurant. I don't think they should be suing the restaurant. I understand that the restaurant has some liability. For one, it is serving alcohol. It can be a little people can get a little too rambunctious. Definitely, we've all had a little bit too much to drink at a thing where we're just like, shouldn't be doing some things. Mostly when then there's a hazard, right? But to kind of put the blame a little bit on them, that's a little much. What are your thoughts on that portion?
I absolutely agree with you. I think it's a little bit too much. I think they should have had. I think they should get a fine for not having enough, like, life-saving devices. I think you end up here, you kind of have that kind of stuff rolling around. Like, yeah, all right, there it is for people to protect. Get in case something, somebody falls into the water. Here's a ladder. Here's that kind of thing. But we didn't obviously see that kind of stuff. So I think that's important that they take a little bit of responsibility, but not all the responsibility. I think really all the responsibility relies on the group of friends who just stood there and watched. So the fact that they knew he couldn't swim, and you think you were being good friends, you knew that somebody can't swim, you don't push them into the water. You might joke with them like, "Oh, I'm gonna push you into the water," but not like literally do it and then just watch them like struggle.
So going into the friend group thing, I think the family should definitely find the main culprit who did do the push, and the rest should be considered like accomplices. Or what's the term?
Yeah, that's a complicated.
Is it there's a term, right?
The word. There's a term, and I'm like, I know it, but I can't think of it right now.
Not cohorts. Not liable. What is it?
I don't know. Somebody help us out here.
Someone. But anyways, they should also be held responsible as well to an extent. Accountable. Show some, but definitely the person who pushed them, like, they should get the most heat. So if you want to play the prisoner's dilemma on them, like, who did the pushing? Like, if not, all of you are gonna get time. Because this is gonna drastically affect his life for the rest of it. Like, he's like, for the most part, he's been making from what we've been looking into, and I've dived a little deeper. He's been making a surprisingly good recovery for where he was. Like,
considering he was on ECMO for 72 hours too. So
and you would probably have a little bit more understanding, a little bit of what's happening there, because the sound of being brain dead and your organs failing, that's kind of like, oh, that's it. Just call it.
Yep.
So
he got a 190 or 180 return. Like, hey, I'm back. At least slowly, but happening. But just still, nonetheless, that's still not good.
It's no more than an actual miracle for this guy. So
yeah.
So where he wound up, we hope for the best. But for that friend group, I definitely needs to be held accountable. The restaurant, I think you're right. I think a fine at most, and then some more upgraded restrictions on the quote hazards, I find is fine. Did you see what they were getting sued for besides that? Let's see here.
No.
No, nothing. Okay, that's fine. But yeah, for the most part, at the end of the day, for the most for this guy, the best for this guy, for Chris, justice for Chris, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. What's the next story you want to jump into?
I kind of almost want to go into the theme of it.
Which one?
One above, right above the article that you posted, that same article, but posted right above it.
Oh, yeah, yes, go ahead. Start reading
it. Parents of boy whose heart stopped for 19 hours were stunned when it started beating again.
Damn, look at this. It's just medical miracles here.
I know, right? A family of 4-year-old boy whose heart was stopped beating hours earlier gathered at the Children's Hospital, Colorado, last month to say their final goodbyes to Cartier McDaniel. Tom stopped in the waiting room when they weren't praying at the Cartier's bed after doctors told his parents, Destiny Anderson and Dominic McDaniel, that it was only a matter of time before his life support machine couldn't be able to keep his body functioning properly without a heartbeat. All attempts to restart his heart had failed. It was the worst moment of my life. The whole hospital room was spinning. I was shaking. I couldn't believe it. It was happening, Anderson said. But it was nothing short of a medical miracle to Anderson and McDaniel that their young son's heart began pumping on its own again 19 hours after it had stopped. Anderson and McDaniel said that doctors told them they didn't have a scientific or medical explanation for why Cartier's heart began beating again. Doctors on Cartier's medical team were unavailable for comment this week, the hospital said, but McDaniel said he had a spiritual explanation. It was God. Cartier's ordeal began April 8th when he ran a fever that Anderson treated with Tylenol. I thought it was a cold and would go away, she said. The next day, his condition worsened. His hands and feet became blue. His mouth turned blue. He was sweated. The dark circles formed around his eyes, and his breathing was labored. He drank lots of water that day and stayed in bed, which Anderson thought was odd because he was usually an active and inquisitive child. She knew something was really amiss when the Cartier wet his bed, she said. She called the nursing line to the Children's Hospital, Colorado, which, upon hearing the symptoms, recommended to go to the hospital immediately. During diagnostic testing for ailments such as diabetes, Cartier's eyes rolled on back of his head, and the doctors couldn't find a pulse. Anderson and McDaniel said he had gone into cardiac arrest. They began administering CPR to no avail. Anderson helplessly looked on. The doctors were pressing on his chest. They said, I started crying and getting hysterical. Medical staff escorted her out of the emergency room. Cardiac arrest occurs when the heart stops pumping and unexpectedly stops pumping and blood stops flowing to the brain and other vital organs, according to the National Institutes of Health. It causes 300 to 450,000 deaths in the U.S. each year, the agency said. Survivors of cardiac arrest can suffer from brain damage and internal organ injuries, according to the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention. So.
Damn. You just never know. Never know.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Oh, he had strep A.
Oh, okay.
Huh. That caused it, so. But the fact that, which led to sepsis, so, wow.
So, yeah.
That is crazy.
Okay, you can probably get a little bit of information. So, kind of what was happening here, in layman terms.
So, basically, I guess what it sounds like he had strep A, which is, it causes a lot of things from, like, strep throat to scarlet fever. So, you're normal. Contagion. Most times our bodies are able to fight it off. When sometimes you need a little help, a little bit of antibiotics to fend it off. You don't know what the symptoms are. I mean, like anybody can get a headache or a fever and not feeling so great. People get run down, right?
Mm.
So when you're basically because it had what did I say? It had so I said it too. Sepsis. So sepsis is basically like bad blood, like something had ruptured and is just spilling and destroying your organs essentially from the inside out, basically. So sepsis, and then or like sepsis is also be a way of the blood just being polluted and bad and gone negative, like it's gross. It's gnarly, has all the bad infectious stews and started like destroying everything it touches, basically. So in a sense, you're slowly dying from the inside out, is what I could say. But the fact that his heart stopped for 19 hours, you don't think it's gonna happen. It's like gonna come back to life. The fact that it did, wow, it's shocking. That's a medical mystery and a miracle in itself. So. Wow. I hope the kid goes on to do great things because that's what that kid deserves.
Yeah, they better make you the most of that. It's one of those things where like you better make the most of the life you got right there.
I know, you got a second shot, dude. Literally.
Because yeah, it's wonderful because it's one of these things that I think we've been getting a very good catalog of these kind of things where that's very positive. it's a very hopeful story compared to some of the ones I've been reading, but it's good to see that it's not impossible. Some of the people that we jump into some of these stories, you gotta just like get the like uplifting ones because because you just never know. Sometimes people just don't just kind of give up on these situations. Like the family was ready to like just call it good, and it's really
We're
disappointing.
having to accept it because of the sepsis. I mean, the sepsis was basically destroying him.
Yeah. So good on them. Good on them. Glad. So
some positive highlights.
Let's go to you. I want to do the story that's right above it.
Okay.
So apparently,
that one?
Yeah. So apparently, a 10-year-old boy was charged over an Italian tourist sexual assault in Australia. That is a wild statement.
I posted that one.
Okay, let's see here. So
crazy.
Over an Italian tourist sexual assault. Okay, so Australian police have charged a 10-year-old boy for allegedly sexually assaulting a 24-year-old Italian tourist in Queensland. The boy was in a group of juveniles that reportedly attacked the tourists in the Cairns Central Business District Wednesday.
Kearns? I think it's Kearns. I think that's how you pronounce it. Correct us if we're wrong, y'all.
Got me different. Where's the article? It gave me another different. Anyways, going back. It does sound like a very disturbing story. I understand that the police have acted swiftly and apprehended the alleged offender. The woman was walking down the street when the boy allegedly assaulted her along with 3 fellow juveniles. She filed a police report to the assault on the corner of Lake and Shields Street at 10 a.m. No doubt a traumatic experience for the young lady, and Detective Inspector Kevin told reporters that the woman reportedly suffered bruising and scratches on her head and face from the alleged sexual assault. What the heck did these guys?
10-year-olds, wow.
As the woman was speaking with the police, the juveniles threw objects and repeatedly punched her. What? She received minor injuries. Nonetheless, it would have been a frightening situation for her. Anyone would be.
Yeah, group of preteens gathering and like harassing.
Not only that, they're attacking her, throwing stuff. The young age of the offenders is abhorred. People are entitled to go about their business in our community. The accused juveniles, including a 10-year-old boy from Manora, was arrested Anyways, the 10-year-old was later released to his home. He was charged with sexual assault, common assault, and assault causing bodily harm.
Occasioning.
And we know that they are, and we know they are. We know who they are, and we know where they are. So it's a matter of us being able to deal with them in a manner that is authorized under the Juvenile Justice Act. Speaking about the boy's age, it's not very common at all. I can't think of another instance where a young boy has committed this type of offense. Okay, what are your thoughts while I keep looking deeper into this?
It's absolutely crazy. Obscene. A group of preteen kids just like literally attacking people. What is this? The Dark Ages? Rowdy, I don't know. Just like I've seen in so many ways. Like I feel sorry for the tourist. So she's coming on her holiday and she's enjoying herself in this beautiful country, and she's enjoying the sights and taking in things and doing what she wants. And I feel bad for her because that's not fair to her, because she was supposed to be on holiday, not worrying about little things like this. This really is taking a dramatic toll. She's not going to want to ever go back to Australia. She'll be like, fuck that. I got attacked by 10-year-olds. I'm going back to Italy.
It is disappointing. it is. It sucks because I. It's we can't attest because we don't know that much of the way things are kind of happening in Australia. We only know the state stuff. Meaning the state stuff can get sectored out and sectioned off, things like that, with all the way things are. But it's been a growing trend, definitely, of just kind of these outrageous things. Like I think we talked off thing where about those kids who are streaming and they like grab those snacks out of the lady's food, and it's just like it's just been getting wild everywhere, and it's like definitely the concept, the concept of boys will be boys has been a thing, but then there's assaulting. That is completely not here. This is not that. So no one should be using that as an excuse. Being rambunctious is one thing, but this is not even being a nuisance. This is being a criminal, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, mostly when you're like you have taken some time off to be away from wherever you need to be, and this is what happens. Abhorrent. Like why would you want to take vacation anywhere if this is where, like, this is what happens, right?
Yeah.
Like, how would you feel if
I know Australia was meant for like the criminals, but I think we have outgrown past that thing. They're no longer criminals here, but apparently they're acting like ones. Little juvenile delinquents.
Like, yeah, imagine if that happened to you while you were on vacation in Ireland.
I would have been pissed. I probably would start smacking them around. Pow! Get off me! Leave off my kid! Pow, 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 pow! Yeah, I probably would beat the hell out of them. Because yeah. At that point, they're already assaulting me in many ways. I'd be like, hell no, I don't put up with this shit. Where's your parents?
Don't worry.
No parents around? Pow!
We'll put a GoFundMe for Liz to get back to America for being arrested. Free Liz, justice for Liz.
They were attacking her.
She was attacking she beat up little kids.
Those hooligans.
Oh my god. All right. All right. There was a story that you really wanted to jump into.
Did I? Which one was that?
I don't know. You said there's one you read.
No, there's not really a story. Oh, that one. Okay. It's only a 2-minute read, but that's okay.
Is it a
Katie
quick?
Britt is back at it.
Oh, is it really that quick?
Hmm?
I didn't look.
Yeah. I saw it I said at the bottom of the title.
Oh, it's not
Katie
that long.
Britt
Yeah.
is back at it, pushing a bill to launch a pregnancy tracking federal database.
Should we just start tracking everyone?
Tracking the pregnancies? Yeah, I guess so. Alabama Senator Katie Britt, who gained national attention after a controversial response to President Joe Biden's State of the Union, proposing a sweeping set of legislation which would enable child support payments to begin during pregnancy and establish a national clearinghouse of pregnancy care providers, except those who provide abortion-related services. The More Opportunities for Moms to Succeed, or MOMS Act, which garnered co-sponsors, including Senators Marco Rubio and Kevin Cramer, creates specific carve-outs bearing an entity that performs, induces, refers for, or counsels in favor of abortions from receiving funding or placement on a new pregnancy.gov website, including swaths of OB/GYN services and sexual health clinics across the country.
I want to have the job. I want to have the job of whoever makes these acts to have the acronyms. Because Moms Act, like more opportunities for moms to succeed. God, that's like, I want that job. I want to be the acronym guy in that job. I want to make these. Like that is.
You make $1,000 per acronym, so you gotta come up with them fast.
That's fine. God, that is like, I don't know. Whoever did that, like they know what they were doing. All right, continue.
Exactly. And it's Mom's Weekend, so it's perfect.
Oh yeah,
The
the website.
website will create a federal database of relevant resources for women, pregnant women, as well as and ask users for contact information the government could use to conduct outreach via phone or email. Critics, including former Kentucky Senator candidate Amy McGrath, said these amounts to database of pregnant people. According
Oh,
to the
okay. I see.
GOP.
I see what they. Okay, because the idea is not bad. Having a single location for resource and for people, that's not bad. That seems very useful, because when it comes to finding any resource for anything, be it medical, financial, it's just hard because it's so spread out, right? So trying to find a phone number, trying to find something, so having it in a reasonable location sounds very useful. But then to get into this like malicious thing of like people are using it,
devil side of it.
I'm like, that's raw. That's bad. All right, continue.
According to the GOP, America needs a national registry for pregnant women, along with the federal government tracking women's menstrual cycles, McGrath said on X. The bill also outlines the creation of database of pregnancy support centers, in quotes, or crisis centers, which critics can say provide women with misleading information in an effort to keep them from having abortions. Brits state that Alabama already has some of the nation's strictest abortion bans, currently barring women from seeking any termination except in case of saving a mother's life. The program further changes the mechanics of child support at a federal level to enable women to seek support from sexual partners upon conception, swapping out existing language from child to unborn child.
Okay. So, yeah, it seems like more and more just like they don't have any level of privacy or whatsoever. I'm for it. I'm fine. Like, I don't have to worry about.
Yeah, you're the guy. So if you got someone pregnant and they conceived with that, that one-time act, that you decide to have a hookup, you're going debt for life. In that moment, you conceive with that person.
As far as Alabama?
No, they're saying that you get child support. You would have to start paying child support the moment that you conceive with them.
Where?
Yeah, that's it. I just said that under the bottom paragraph.
The program further mechanics of child support. Wait, the program further changes the mechanic of child support at the federal level to enable women to seek support. Interesting. But we can monitor these things, Liz. You can monitor these things now. If they're lying. But yeah, it's once again just like a whole debacle. It is that time of year. We won't be jumping into a lot of like political stuff because it is voting season, and those are for each of us personal times. But we will be reading some wild stories if they are some wild stories, because you just never know what's happening in these spaces, because people get heated on both ends. But as far as this one, it seems more that it's more using a what sounds to be a very useful tool to be not only tracking women and potentially even giving them misleading information.
Didn't you just say that? Didn't you just hear yourself? Tracking women? Yes, exactly. They'll be tracking the women. Their menstrual cycles, the sources for abortion, the sources for having basically support since they conceived with the kid. So,
hey, I don't know what are your thoughts here then? It's more on.
I kind of like the idea, but I hate the idea that they're trying to track women in the pregnancies. Like they're like, again, this kind of goes back to their that story, that one we were talking about. I'm waiting for the next season for it. The book, the series. Oh Lord, the one with the red robes.
Oh, the Handmaid's Tale.
Handmaid's Tale. We're going way back to. I feel like this is the start of the Handmaid's Tale. This is it. Okay, what women can have kids, what women can't have kids. It's yeah. That's not a good idea. I don't like that idea. I like the fact that the sources are available, but the fact that you have to kind of like basically sign in to say, "Hey, we're gonna help you out here," you know, that kind of thing. That's again a little sketch. I think the resources should be free. They should be available without putting in any information. Period. So
That's the thing.
I don't.
It's tough. It's tough
Yeah,
when it comes to these, because you to be able to access this information, you have to be putting in your information, and it's how they get you, and it's devious, definitely.
privacy law is gone basically with that one, and they said they'll be calling you to make sure your resources, etc., blah blah blah, whatever, and surveys and shit like that. So from the federal government, like that is it appropriate? I don't think so. The federal government doesn't need to know when I'm having my baby, or when I've had the baby, or if I had the baby. So
Well, we'll see what happens. It's every state is doing their own thing right now. I don't even think Oregon's doing really much, but I haven't been paying attention to that.
Oregon only supports the mother's decision, whatever that may be.
So, look at that. We don't get political on this thing, so we'll see what Oregon, everything. Like I said, we only tend to these wild stories because it's crazy. At the end of the day, it's like we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Let's see here. So there are 2 videos that I wanted to, but we only have enough time for one. Which one do you want?
Which one do you want to do?
No, which one do you? They're both interesting.
Okay, which one? Which one? Okay, the first one I'm assuming. No, the two.
No,
Wait,
there's two. There's two.
There's
which
three.
One? 3 videos?
Oh no, that's not a video. Done. Okay, never mind. Just kidding. What
do you? Which one's kind of?
How about the second one?
Okay, so give us 1 second, everyone. I'm gonna be pulling.
If one trend of 2023 shows how far we've fallen, it was the Barbie Botox. Named after the toy's signature long neck, the procedure spread like wildfire on Instagram after the release of the film. A series of injections to the trapezius muscles in the neck renders them unable to contract, which lowers your...
Do you remember what the Barbie Botox? I don't remember hearing that.
No, never heard that. I know what Botox is.
Oh,
it's used on a regular basis.
Okay, but I don't remember Barbie Botox. Let's just continue.
And makes your neck look slightly longer. Despite the risk of muscle paralysis and severe pain, thousands of people rushed out to get this hot new treatment. But this is a very recent phenomenon. No one did this in the past. No movie made people do this kind of thing. And that's when you realize that the Barbie Botox is just the tip of a massive iceberg, a trend that's hiding behind the surface. You see, the plastic surgery industry has been booming for years.
Yeah, we know this.
Instagram and TikTok. Invasive procedures go in and out of fashion every month, as a young impressionable audience goes from one insecurity to another, fed to them by Instagram's algorithm. Meanwhile, celebrities and
we've talked about the algorithm on TikTok, and like I've shown Liz my feed, and like it's wild. We're about to do a little fun thing for bonus episodes once we get more time, but definitely we've spoken about how the algorithm works, and it can be scary. So like definitely the one I was showing Liz, I'm like I can see why Instagram can be a little bit
influencers work hand in hand with the industry, making promotional posts and boasting about their procedures and the results. As new procedures dip in and out of fashion, influencers target people's mental weaknesses and make a fortune drumming up clients for the industry. And now that plastic surgery is growing fastest among young adults, looking to replicate the inhuman perfection they see on the app, it's time we really expose how Instagram is quite literally changing the face of the world. At the time of its founding, it would have been nearly...
What are your thoughts on that? How
I mean,
how an app is doing that?
I could see it's playing on people's insecurities. Like I said, what the algorithm works on it, whatever you feed it. So, and if you're wanting to look at something, it just kind of starts feeding you in that direction. Like, go this way, go that way. You really want this procedure done. You need this procedure done. It's obviously clear that you want this procedure. You keep watching these videos. So.
All right, let's continue.
impossible to predict the rise of Instagram into one of the biggest social media apps in the world. But looking back, it's easy to see that all the right ingredients were there for massive success. It all goes down to the founders Kevin Systrom and Mike Krieger. The pair originally met while studying at Stanford, and even before they had started
a little history lesson, that's cool.
Hunted by the big names in tech. Kevin Systrom even turned down an internship at Facebook to spend time studying photography in Italy.
Oh wow.
He would go on to intern at Odeo, a small app which would later become Twitter, and afterwards he would then get headhunted by Google and worked there for 2 years. But even after a short time in the industry, Kevin was frustrated. He had just been passed up for a promotion and was sick of the culture of the company, and went against all the original ideas of Silicon Valley. Kevin wanted to fully throw himself into a creative idea and exploit an opening in the market by building something of his own. Kevin knew his old college friend Mike was just as ambitious as he was, and so he thought he would explain his vision for a new app, something he would tell Forbes in an interview a few years later. Mike Krieger and I created Instagram.
That's crazy. These two individuals, like, very talented. They worked in some of the highest like level companies in Silicon Valley. So there's no doubt about that. Like, that is wild. I wonder if they knew.
Absolutely.
I wonder if they couldn't have known how far it would have gone with just this app.
We wanted a way to communicate visually. We realized that we'd be taking all these photos with our iPhones that would sit on our camera roll, and it felt like they should be seen, not necessarily because they were good photos, but because a photo that no one sees isn't really that interesting. Every photo you take communicates something about a moment in time, a brief slice of time of where you were, who you were with, and what you were doing. And funnily enough, their idea would prove to be one of the most lucrative ideas of the 21st century. Kevin and Mike immediately got to work on Instagram, pouring everything they had into this new app, and in just
that's what I really liked about Instagram. It was just, I didn't have to read anything. It was just a photo. If you liked it, you clicked it, and that was it. I think that's what I found pleasing about it. Like, it's Instagram now, it's a little bit more, every app's trying to be its own thing. Because TikTok it's short form. You got YouTube doing its own thing, and then I don't use Facebook anymore, but like Facebook kind of just like family posts and stuff like that, and even that. But you've been more actively using Instagram more. What are your thoughts on your current Instagram usage, or thoughts on it?
It's been kind of dwindling. I haven't been on it consistently. I got on briefly to look at things that people send me, and other than that, I like it just because there's a little bit of everything going on. Pictures, keeping track of family and friends that way, and places to find new restaurants and stuff like that. So like a little bit of everything going on with it. I enjoy it just a little bit. It's pictures, movies, blips of information around locally. So it's nice.
So
yeah.
At the moment, what would be, as far as social medias go, what would be your like most uses down below, to least?
Right now it's Instagram right now.
And then
I haven't really been on TikTok. I haven't really been on Facebook. I mean, I've been on Facebook, so it's up there between there. I still get up on Facebook just to check up on things. So
okay,
yeah, somewhere in there. Probably Facebook, Insta, and then TikTok at the very bottom. So
okay.
2 weeks, they had already secured $500,000 of funding from investors and were starting to get it ready to launch to the public. But it still wasn't easy. It took the pair a year of work to get everything ready, but they still weren't prepared for what would happen next. Now, there was plenty of interest in the app, and they could tell this from the demos. And so as soon as they launched the app, within just the first week, Instagram had gained over 100,000 users in 2010.
14 years.
This was the highest amount of users gained for any single social media app in history. The service for the app and the infrastructure wasn't enough to keep up with the massive influx of users. The new company that barely had anyone working for it had already far exceeded expectations, and so they would have to invest tons back in just to keep the app functional, with back-end tweets and more processing power. And so the first year was just a mad rush to keep up with the user base, with Kevin and Mike sacrificing everything in their lives to keep it afloat. But just when they thought they had gotten on top of the growth, there would be more crashes and more problems to deal with. But as time went on and they streamlined the process, their hard work was richly rewarded. You see, investors saw this and knew they had to get a piece of the pie. In less than 2 months after its launch, the app already hit 1 million users, and Instagram was injected with $7 million of investor funding,
that is some
particularly
money.
through System Silicon Valley connections. And users just loved how you could make your photos look so much better than other apps like Facebook. And the key here was filters.
Yeah, definitely the filter game was strong because there was that hashtag no filter, but definitely filters are the thing that like hide those imperfections, hide those blemishes, and just make those pictures look more appealing. So I could see definitely having a built-in filter in an app help like increase its popularity and usage. Like even I used them. I think even my main profile picture has had a nice black and white filter tone to it, I think. And I just liked how it turned out.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't really use a lot of the filters. I don't use any filter. No filter for life.
But yeah, I could see why people would use it more. It's there. Why not use it, right? When we can see why people would do it.
In relatively early on to make up for the poor quality of smartphone cameras at the time, the introduction of various photo filters would prove revolutionary. With the touch of a button, users could iron out their wrinkles, cover up any blemishes, and transform their mundane experiences into picturesque moments. What was meant as a simple fix for the lacking technology of the time took on a life of its own. Filters gave Instagram an air of perfection and artistic expression that transcended the dull, boring photos your relatives were posting on Facebook at the time. Although Kevin and Mike could never have foresaw what they had really created and how this would be used in the future. But at the same time that Kevin and Mike were building the photo app of the future, something else was going on. Other people were laying the groundwork for an entirely different way to push past the limits of natural beauty. Now, if you're going to blame anyone for the massive rise in plastic surgery, then you'd have to talk about people like the Kardashians. They were unique among celebrities at the time because they truly offered nothing except for their image and their lifestyle. Coming to fame in 2007 after her viral sex tape, Kim and the gang went on to hold their 15 minutes of fame and stretched it out over multiple decades. Kim and her.
What are your thoughts on this?
It's the people with the 2 minutes of fame and it's such. It's good for them, but like at the same time, they have a high level of standards for beauty. They gotta have the next Botox, gotta have the next lip injections, booty injections. I mean, we saw it unfold. It's not like we're not seeing it. We saw it.
It's still going. It's still
going too.
Yeah, there was like the what was it? I forgot. There was that recent
booty.
No. It just happened. No, it just happened recently. Kim.
Oh really? What was it?
It was the recent Met Gala, and she had her dress, and her waist. Here, let me see if I can find.
The waist has gotta be tiny. The booty biggie.
No, they were telling that she got her her lower ribs were replaced. They removed to just have that. When I find the photo, I'll send it to you. But definitely, even the article, the Kardashians changed the way we see beauty for the better or worse. They have made a mainstay of how things are. So let's continue. But yeah, they have not helped. They have not helped at all.
Her family's signature look exploded onto modern culture and still has an effect on beauty standards today. The modern world's obsession with full lips, big butts, and stenciled eyebrows is in large part thanks to them. Of course, the image they sold to the world so easily didn't really bear any relation to reality. First, as you can probably guess, there's all the cosmetic surgeries and procedures they've gone through to get there, then countless layers of makeup, professional photography, and Photoshop are added on. And out of thousands of those photos, only a select few are chosen to be shown to the public. Before the rise of social media,
yeah, that's the other thing is the ability to pick and choose what is shown. And at least as far as the Kardashians go, they have the financial ability to do this. And they are setting the trends because definitely, I have seen girls with those what was that weird eyebrow thing they were doing? Squared out? But yeah.
Guys, I have no idea.
But you've seen people like that.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And now you know where it comes from.
Some of the blocks. I mean, it's been around forever. I don't think it's just gone away. It's just,
But they popularized.
highlighted. It's been prominent. It has been there. It's never disappeared. It was whether it was utilized to an advantage. So.
But they popularized it.
Yeah, they basically popularized it. Yeah.
Kind of deception was only available to the rich and famous. Even their own influence alone has a huge effect on the cosmetic surgery industry. When a 17-year-old Kylie Jenner boasted of getting lip fillers to achieve her signature look, online searches for the procedure went up by over 3,000%.
What do you think of that statement?
I remember that. Do you remember
that? I remember that. I actually remember that. My sister told me about it.
From that some of it too.
But can you believe how the search rate for that went up 3,000%?
That's absolutely crazy.
2015.
I'm not shocked either because it's like this was set the rules.
Yeah, 2015 definitely was like peak the Kardashian. You know, like their show was popping off and everything. So.
The so-called Brazilian butt lift procedures have only grown in popularity thanks to Kim and her family. The procedure involves a surgeon taking fat deposits from elsewhere on the body and then transferring them to the buttocks. Between 2000 and 2018, the amount of butt lift procedures has risen by over 250%.
250%.
I gotta say, I'm in the wrong industry. I should be in plastic surgery.
I know, right? You should just gone.
Over time though, the procedures fades away and the results disappear, so regular procedures are required to keep it up. Even the Kardashians themselves regretted the procedure in the end, with Kim recently admitting that she'd stopped having her top-ups. The procedure is massively popular, but also incredibly risky compared to other cosmetic surgery. When it goes wrong, people can get nasty infections and sometimes require surgery to remove the implants. Or if the fat gets into the bloodstream, it can actually cause embolisms and blockages to vital organs. 1 in every 4,000 people die as a result of the complications, which is what led to the UK banning it in 2018. Eventually they reversed the decision in 2022 after bringing in new safety regulations, but there's still a whole world of unlicensed practitioners performing a different version of the procedure. While they're not allowed to perform the surgical version with the potentially fatal side effects, they're still allowed to blindly inject people with artificial substances. It's not like the UK's ban really did anything anyway. The people who were determined enough to get it done were freely able to just go abroad to places like Turkey or Mexico where the procedure is completely legal.
That's the other thing. It's the ability to seek out for, like to each their own, and having the ability to do it, and then having the ability to put more safety procedures, because I think it's a medical procedure, right? Like plastic surgery is overall a medical procedure, so you are putting your body at risk for these level of quote beauty standards, right?
Right.
But
I agree. I mean, and like I said, when I talked about my surgeries, it's like, yeah, I could do implants, but I would have to replace them every 10 years. We talk about how much your body goes through, and why would you put your body through so much surgery? If you could do it one and done, cool. But if you're doing it, you got to top up every 5 to 6 years. Does anybody have that money that's standing around to go top off and then go to other countries? It might be cheaper, but you might die, literally.
And often mostly unregulated and far cheaper. Even today there's countless adverts for this all over Facebook and Instagram. But nothing has promoted plastic surgery and made the world more plastic and fake than it's ever been like Instagram. The Kardashians might have remained in the background for most people, ending up as has-been stars like so many before them. But instead their recipe for success based on their looks and their status alone was about to go global. And that was all thanks to Instagram. But how did an innocent photo sharing website become the money-making machine it is today? The answer is Mark Zuckerberg. You see, Zuck's vision for a social media business was a lot different compared to Kevin Systrom or Mike Krieger. While they were thinking about how to make money from people's photos, Mark was interested in commodifying the people instead. Even before Mark started Facebook, he had already demonstrated his true feelings towards his users. While he's rejected that the film The Social Network was true in his account of his website FaceMash.
Right, like they just can't wrap their head around the idea that someone might build something because they like building things.
The evidence shows that it wasn't that far off. Articles from Harvard newspapers show how he plundered Harvard's registers for pictures of people's faces. He then used these to create a website where people could rank each other.
I remember that. I remember reading about that, where you would just pick if you would like basically it's smash or pass, but from two people, and it would just basically go from there. Did you remember reading this back in the day?
I must have been obtusely. Well, you think about it, I've been raising a kid for the last almost 13 years, so yeah, I probably wasn't.
Other on
Wasn't all that
attractiveness,
into it.
while the backend secretly assigned them their own rating out of 10. While it was quickly shut down, the stunt informed the future development of Facebook to a massive degree. Facebook did the same thing in turning its users into the product, just in a more sinister way. It was all about maximizing engagement for users, whilst plundering all the possible data they could find, and then selling this to advertisers and giving them easy targets for their
you gotta love that
campaigns
when
was
our
the final
data
step in the profit.
The fun part where our data gets sold because of the way it works. It's nearly impossible to scrub anything about yourself off the internet nowadays. Like you're on there. Like
Yep.
there's even if you try to delete Facebook, Facebook does not get deleted. Like
Yeah, right. It doesn't delete.
like no, you're permanently online at that point. Like you have a Google account, you're permanently online. Unless you made a fake account. No, you're somewhere out there. There is something of you.
Machine. Whilst these weren't new ideas, Zuckerberg perfected them at Facebook. A combination of aggressive data hoarding and addictive design practices turned Facebook into one of the biggest companies in the planet, almost overnight. But already by the early 2010s, and Zuckerberg knew deep down that Facebook would be on the way out at the end of the decade, as he was failing to capture the next generation.
Yeah, there you go. The idea of trying to keep the thing, like I was a MySpace person, switched over to Facebook, and then
Same.
and I was on Facebook for a good amount of time until I just was done using Facebook, and wasn't really a Twitter person. Like was on it but wasn't using it. Instagram was there, but I didn't really use it either. Never got into TikTok until recently, and even then I haven't been actively using it. I don't think I've been a major social media person besides YouTube.
I feel the same way.
So,
I feel the same way. I don't use a lot of it, just in general. I might use Insta just because I want to show off my food that I had, last night or whatever. To show off to somebody, hey, check out this spot, I'm all about, sharing small businesses, essentially. So.
but yeah, basically but trying to capture a generational thing, because to keep a business growing, you have to keep that audience. You got to keep the current audience while gaining more, right? Because you got to keep those investors.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you capture the next thing? So I can see why they would have bought, because Instagram was the big thing, right? That's where the new trend was happening.
And was losing out to younger, more organic apps like Instagram. Meanwhile, things weren't amazing at Instagram either. Sure, growth was solid and the business was doing well, but after 2 years of grinding away, Kevin and Mike were sick of doing it alone. Now, they had built up a team by this point, but it was always an uphill struggle to keep up with the growth of the app. Some sort of merger or acquisition would put an end to these troubles. It would give them all the investments they needed, with the added bonus of the infrastructure to push Instagram to the next level. So after turning down a few other suitors, Kevin and Mike sold the company almost entirely to Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook in 2012.
Americans share photos on Instagram. A company with only 13 employees bought today by Facebook for $1 billion.
At first, it seemed like they made the right choice. Kevin and Mike were still semi-independent, and they were free to grow the app however they wanted. And through the intelligent use of their new resources, Instagram had exploded in popularity. Within a year, they hit 50 million users, then 100 million a few months afterwards.
Oh, wow.
This all came at a cost, because it wasn't long before Mark came in to slowly force the founders out along with their original principles, allowing Facebook to make changes to the app and its business model forever. In 2014, Facebook pushed for changes to the data hoarding practices, making the app use Facebook's invasive tactics. A year later, they gave advertisers far more power on the app, letting them run 30-second adverts and buying products directly through the app. Compromising
we still see that these days.
Information and data security with the new hands of Mark Zuckerberg.
That's kind of what's happening on TikTok right now. The invasive ads because they added a marketplace on TikTok, and then people can sell the items themselves if they like use the link. But I'm like, that just kind of, I think that put me off TikTok more now recently. It has for my brother as well. But yeah, it's when you get these advertisements, so frustrating.
A man notorious for exploiting all of your information and using it against you. That's why while you're exploring services like Instagram, every sign up or interaction might expose you to potential spam, scams, or identity theft. But imagine navigating these apps like Instagram with complete control over your personal information, never having to compromise your privacy for the sake of convenience. Well, this is where our video sponsor Cloak steps in. You see, Cloak uses advanced technologies are securely encrypted and completely private. This means you can use so without ever having to give away your actual phone, create phone numbers from being
That's
used.
useful, but
You don't need or even have Cloak to use my link in the description so that you can get a discount too. The most insidious changes that happened when Zuckerberg took over Instagram were far more subtle. In 2014, Instagram added a whole suite of different editing tools. The app went from a place to post filtered pictures of your real life into a showroom for the best looking photos of yourself that you could possibly create. By 2016, they made it so algorithms would decide what photos the app would show you. Instead of giving you a timeline of the photos that your friends had posted, Instagram would only show what it thought you would engage with the most, laying the groundwork.
yeah, that's the thing. It's like it doesn't show you most recent. It just shows you, because I see sometimes posts from like 3 days ago, and I'm like, oh, that's a nice photo, and then I click and I'm like, oh, this was posted 3 days ago. I'm like, oh, and not most recent, and sometimes not even my friends list anymore, like randoms, like
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts there?
It's frustrating. I'm looking for my friends. That's why I follow them. I want to see what's going on with them today, not yesterday. And it's frustrating because I noticed that too. I'm like, wait, this was 3 days ago? Why wasn't I aware of this? Why wasn't I known information on this? So, really upsetting sometimes. I agree with that.
Work for the addictive design that Facebook had already mastered. When Facebook began pushing for location tracking, it was the final straw for Kevin and Mike. They hated the direction the app was taking. They saw that Zuckerberg was using their app as a machine that turned people's addictions into a weapon against humanity. They thought that Zuck's push for maximum engagement would lead to some of the worst problems that we see today in society. The environment on Instagram was now a constant competition to get the most followers and the most likes on your photos, always having to look the best you possibly could for the algorithm, with the aid of Instagram's inbuilt Photoshop. Unlike the founders, Zuckerberg didn't care at all that the problems on the app would soon spill over into society. As long as it kept making him billions, it didn't matter. Eventually in late 2018, Kevin and Mike gave up fighting against the tide and just decided to leave the company entirely, leaving Mark Zuckerberg free to fully realize his plans for Instagram, and this has had an awful effect on society ever since. You see, plastic surgery was still a niche industry up until this point. It was only reserved for medical purposes, Hollywood actors and trophy wives. It wasn't nearly as common as it was today, but all of this changed with the arrival of Instagram in the early 2010s. Almost overnight, we saw a rapid transformation in how people presented themselves online and the images of people we see. Now, we've already discussed what the Kardashians and other celebrities would do to get the perfect picture. After the surgeries, camera angles, and airbrushing, the final image is barely recognizable as the person it depicts. Instagram puts this power into the hands of the people. With the high-powered camera in people's pockets, they could take what would have been a normal photo, add a filter and some Photoshop to it, and create a vision of perfection. All the little flaws and blemishes that make people human got ironed out. Now nearly anyone could achieve the level of unrealistic perfection that graced magazine covers for years. On its own, this would have been troubling. For decades, people worried about the negative effect on people's self-esteem and self-image that beauty magazines and Hollywood had, but Instagram took this to the next level, 100 timesing this problem by turning it into a global competition with millions of fans and billions of dollars on the line for the winners. So
okay, so before we go any deeper, what are your thoughts just hearing this? What's been happening for the last decade, basically?
It's been happening, eroding a woman's self-esteem for a long time. We've seen it way before it even started.
Because of the magazines, like the
social media.
Before
magazines, the forums that popped up, and the ads, and it was existing, and it's just now in our hands, essentially.
Basically, it exploded. Social media, Instagram, basically exploded it to this level. And we've talked about it. We've talked about articles of the last couple like years, but seeing the kind of the history of it right now, thanks to this, what are your thoughts? Kind of living through this event, these events, basically.
It's I can't believe I've been missing this, but again, I'm not like.
Are you happy that you didn't have to go through this in a sense?
Yes, I'm happy I didn't have to go through this. I definitely agree, because I'm glad I missed it, and I have a little bit more self-esteem from myself and not from an app.
Would you? I know this is one of those what ifs because of the life circumstances, but if that didn't happen, would you have been more active in social media wise? And
I don't know. I'm not that kind of person. I feel like I think because I grew up, we weren't allowed a lot of TV time or video game time, so we were out playing all the time. So,
but I think you would have been more active because of the way you use it now. You were just like, oh, let's try this place out in social media, because you said you were a Facebook person prior, and then
yeah,
and your friend group is very active. I'm guessing you would have probably skipped from Facebook to Instagram, using that a little bit more if you had the more time. Because I know I was jumping between social medias depending on who I was with. But that's just saying that. So you might have just dodged a bullet.
Yeah, I didn't. I knew that was happening. I knew there was a merger. I just didn't.
You knew the company and financial side, but you didn't know what was happening underneath to the people. The users.
I wasn't really aware of the users, I guess. I was just kind of focused on the little things and not that huge thing.
My question now is, if you think of your friend group and the ones who were a little bit more active, or you think were active, do you think there was a change in them in the 2010s? Thinking about it.
Honestly, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't really pay attention. And not to be mean to my friends, it's just like I enjoyed being with them, but I also was raising a kid at the time. So at the same time, I was not focused on the 2010s of myself. So I was more focused on something else.
Long before people realized that to win this game, you had to go as far as possible. For the Instagram algorithm to bless you, you had to do whatever it took. The more focused on your image you were, the more money and popularity you could get as an influencer. Constantly being dangled over you, your feed showing you all these people sucked into the same Instagram algorithm, tapping into all your primal needs, playing into men's sexual urges, and for everybody's desire for fame and attention. It became about selling the illusion of perfection. For a successful influencer, every photo pushed this narrative a bit further forward. They showcased their perfect bodies, their perfect lives, relaxing by pools, in million-dollar yachts, penthouses across the world, smiling with their equally perfect friends. It didn't matter that none of this was actually real and that it was all a fantasy. I mean, strip away the filters and the staged moments, and you'd just be left with a sad picture of self-obsession and insecurity. Living this way and focusing your whole life on your image is a terrible recipe for disaster. You would expect models, the people who are selected by society as the best looking people in the world, to have the least problems with critiquing their own appearance, but in fact it's the opposite. Over 40% struggle with body dysmorphia and disordered eating. But this was just for models. This used to just be for these kinds of people whose entire livelihoods depended on their image. But in the last few years, Instagram has globalized its toxic mindset because of the results of its grand competition for visual perfection. All of the perfect illusions posted by influencers online were eaten up by the hundreds of millions of users Instagram gained in just a few short years. Some parts of Instagram culture, like using filters and photoshopping your selfies, entered the mainstream and affected the rest of the internet. It all had the effect of making everyone subconsciously disappointed with their own comparatively boring lives. If you weren't part of the influencer elite, then your life looked worse than the ones you'd see online every single day. And if you didn't have the flawless figure and perfect face like the influencers, then you just weren't good enough to join the club. The algorithm wouldn't bless you. You'd just be left in the bottom of the barrel, constantly refreshing your likes to see if anyone would give you more attention. And
that is definitely tough. Mostly when if,
There's like a lot of manipulation there. Negative manipulation, toxicity there.
yep,
I
and
really don't care if I'm at the bottom of the barrel. Do I care? No. I enjoy the likes occasionally, but after that, it's like, okay, cool.
definitely. Though that's how it's been for the last so long, because people like big number, right? Big number. I think it's for our personal stuff, we don't care as much, but I think for when it comes to this show, it's very more like we are a little bit more like we want that. We want those likes and views for the show, because it showcased that some of the work we've been putting into it's doing good. But if you think more broader to the people, it is super detrimental, and can be disheartening to certain people who don't have that level of like what's the word I want to use? They're just fucked if they just don't have that level, because they're screwed, because it just puts them down. It puts them into that like hole, and then they're just and then they're wondering why am I living that horrible life? Why am I not happy having those? Oh, everything good? Okay. Okay. But yeah.
My brother's here, probably.
Oh, but yeah, it's one of those things like you people wonder like why am I not having those moments? Why do I not look that way? It's
Exactly.
And it's just a spiral. Mostly when when you're trying and you're not getting them, it just puts you in a worse spiral going down.
Yeah, mental spiral is disastrous. So I wonder our anxiety levels are high these days.
And over time, this has led to a huge rise in insecurity, mental illnesses, and body dysmorphia amongst young people in particular. All the perfection made people think that the natural imperfections that everyone else has was something to be ashamed of. Inevitably, influencers were ready to swoop in and sell solutions to the problem they had made worse, most of them promoting harmless temporary fixes like their own cosmetic brands and makeup. The Kardashians would gain hundreds of millions of followers on Instagram, and then promote their makeup lines, making billions in the process. But for some of these Instagram-fueled insecurities, there was only one way to really change it. If you wanted a bigger butt like the models on Instagram, a slimmer waistline, bigger boobs, or for guys a better jawline, a better face, plastic surgery was the easiest and quickest option. It didn't matter that it was fake. If it worked for other people, it would work for you too. The whole insecurity was built on fake image to begin with. And so Instagram has duped tens of millions, even hundreds of millions of people into thinking they had a real problem, and that the only way to fix this problem would be through medical procedures. If you could just save up enough money, maybe you could look like your idol. Maybe then you could get enough likes and attention to finally feel worthy. Little do people realize it's an endless problem that you'll never be happy with. Of course, plastic surgery won't fix your insecurities. After one procedure is over, something else pops up that needs to be fixed. Realistically, even if you don't mind plastic surgery, it's still better in moderation. A few touch-ups could be seen as a positive thing if it doesn't lead to more insecurity, but the beauty standards that Instagram was pushing didn't push people towards moderation. Instead, they made everyone else want to look the same. And the more of your friends that got plastic surgery, the more of your idols that got surgery, the bigger the desire you'd have yourself for getting surgery. People call it the Instagram phase, characterized.
I remember hearing about this. I think we were about to talk about this, but we missed this back in 2023. I remember I was gonna grab this this article, but yeah, that's one of the things. It's just when you find one problem, there's another problem that leads to another problem, and there's no perfection.
It's a vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle.
Well, do you have any words?
People, I think it sucks because women, always are. You got to be a certain waist size, and you got to be a certain breast size, and this and that, and it's just a continuous vicious cycle. Like, well, one thing after another. Well, you need to do this. You need to do that. Well, you got to keep going. Got to keep going. It's just something else, and it's just a wind up. Eventually, it either leaves you very disfigured or death. It's ultimately what happens. And it's sad and it's scary and it's a worrisome thing of what the potential of the future will be with the way this is taking off and it's still continuing to take off.
by perfect skin, luscious and full lips, sharp cheekbones, and long eyelashes. It's become what millions of young women around the world dream of having. Of course, it's only possible with surgery, Botox, and Photoshop, and the world will move on to a different beauty standard before long. But this hasn't stopped people from trying to achieve this illusion. It's especially noticeable in celebrities, and promoted everywhere on Instagram's algorithm. Whether or not plastic surgery is involved, tons of models, singers, and movie stars have slowly changed their image to match the Instagram templates. Ariana Grande is a good example. You can see the progression towards the Instagram singularity over time with this picture.
Oh wow.
Notice how her eyes
Yep. I know. Crazy.
That is great. Okay, I'm just double checking the video to see if you can see it. You can see their faces. Yeah, wow. You can really see the change.
It's sad. It really is sad. And I showed somebody my picture from when I was 18. They're like, wait, you haven't aged today. And I'm like, well, thank you. And of course, because I haven't manipulated into this shenanigans.
eyes have gone stretched out, her nose has changed, and her lips have gotten fuller. She's also lost an unhealthy amount of weight, which is a huge problem when it isn't healthy. Obviously, people can look whatever way they want to look, but there's something really sad about all of these young people getting duped into thinking their natural beauty isn't good enough. The modern standards that Instagram and its whole culture have imposed on people drives them to do this to themselves. Of course, that's not the only soul-destroying app that pushes people towards cosmetic surgery. Improving your performance on dating apps are also some of the top reasons people go under the knife. The most popular dating apps focus the courtship process almost purely on what people look like. People look at your picture for a second or two, then make a split-second decision on whether you meet their standards. You can easily see why plastic surgery would give you an advantage for this. Filters and editing helps, but it's too obvious if it's done poorly. An artificial face underneath all of that makes the final picture much more effective. Lots of the procedures that give you an Instagram face also work especially well with filters and airbrushing. So much so that some people design their own faces to look especially good in their online photos, whilst losing something when you actually look at them. While you may think the Instagram face looks good on Instagram itself, next to a group of normal people in real life, it just looks kind of strange and alien. One thing about all the ways Instagram has led to the rise in plastic surgery is that it doesn't discriminate by age. In fact, young people and even teenagers are much more susceptible to the coordinated attack on your self-image that Instagram delivers. While the Instagram face doesn't really bear any relation to people's natural faces, it is similar to someone who's in their early to late 20s. All the teenagers browsing Instagram and wishing they looked that good attempted to get procedures that made them look older rather than younger. This is the reason why plastic surgery and cosmetic procedures are growing fastest amongst people under 30.
Read that. As
of 2020, 18.1% of all cosmetic surgeries in the United States were performed on patients ages 13 to 19. Damn.
Almost.
That's funny in 2020, which I find it funny because a lot of cosmetic procedures were kind of canceled during the pandemic. So.
But overall, one in five teenagers. That's wild. That's wild to think. Like, imagine you're in high school growing up. That means in your high school, 1 in 5 of those kids, we'll just say wanted surgery. I could say more, but it's that's kind of just saying that's kind of how the algorithm works.
It's on
30 and even faster in teenagers. Some of these procedures are what's called preventative plastic surgery. People are getting Botox and other things done in order to prevent future wrinkles, not just fatten the ones already there. I mean, it's truly insane that people are trying to fix a false problem that hasn't even happened yet because of one app. Another far more disturbing procedure is buccal fat removal. It's been all the rage on Instagram for
what buccal? What was that?
buccal.
Another far more disturbing
buccal fat
procedure is buccal fat removal. It's been all the rage on Instagram for quite a while now because it matches the current beauty standards online. Even if you don't know what it really is, you'll recognize the effects. In the procedure, a surgeon makes cuts inside the mouth and removes what's called the buccal fat pad, which rests under the cheekbones. The result is far more prominent cheekbones and that sunken, hollow look that's all the rage right now. It makes you look far older and your face look thinner, but it's not without giant risks. The procedure itself can be painful and dangerous, but as people get older, their faces naturally get get thinner and the natural layer of fat on your face gets less prominent. It's an irreversible procedure. All of the people getting it might regret it in 10 years down the line, unless they were going for that skeletal look in the first place.
God,
if we want to look at where we might be in the
well.
future with the rise of cosmetic surgery, we only need to turn to South Korea.
Damn, it's just wild. Some of these things.
You did notice some of that. I noticed it.
It just
I'm like, I'm okay with my little chubby cheeks today. It'll make me look younger for a while.
That looked like a skeleton, I'll be honest.
And you lose them permanently.
The future of plastic surgery. A third of Korean women aged 19 to 29 have undergone.
Oh wow, that is way bigger than 1 in 3 Korean women has had.
And the numbers just keep
Korea
on
has
rising,
high
especially
standards.
amongst young people. 60% of South Korean high school students want to get surgery in the future. There's even stories of young people winning plastic surgery vouchers from their schools to help with their future careers.
Korean school report to given plastic surgery gift certificates as prizes to help students get the right face. Imagine if that happened in America, Liz.
God, no. Heck no. That's not happening. My kid's not going to need plastic surgery. They don't need plastic surgery. They don't have to have plastic surgery. Damn it.
But what if they want it, Liz? You know, that's what they want.
Pay for it themselves.
They got a
Pay for it
voucher.
themselves. Go for it.
They got the voucher.
Okay. I'm not going to give them the voucher. I'm not giving them a voucher. No way.
They won it. They did really well at school.
I'd rather deal with the money. I'd rather give them the money. Give me the money.
They do vouchers, Liz. No one gives money. It's America.
So what's going on here? And is this a warning for the future of the
What
past?
is happening, actually?
Well,
I
one
kinda wanna
theory
know
is
why.
that it's all part of a push towards stricter conformity and a move away from individualism. In a culture where your social standing and your reputation are highly valued, losing face can mean everything. Breaking cultural norms and deviating from.
Definitely, it is a different culture. I won't deny that. That is, it is definitely,
Absolutely.
it is a way different culture. So it's kind of getting into another level of discussion, of individuality, because they're the way they run things, the way their society is way different than Americans are. So it's hard to judge to do that, but it's that weird sense of change to conform is the scary thing. But yeah, let's continue to kind of learn a little bit here.
What's expected of you can damage both you and your family's reputation. With so much value put on that by everyone else, people who break away get ostracized and excluded from society. One of the many problems that this can cause has come about with modern society's focus on looks and aesthetics, both in the West and in South Korea. While we might have Instagram face, it's a relatively new development compared to South Korea's rigid beauty standards. The same facial features are valued above all others and plastered on every billboard, commercial, TV show, and music video. Conforming to this standard has become the same as any other social rule or cultural pressure. It becomes almost rude to assault other people's eyes with your appearance if it doesn't match the cultural mold. Your face and how you look get wrapped up into the idea of success and happiness pushed by the rest of the culture. No wonder plastic surgery is so popular. It's become the difference between getting that promotion you've been working towards and missing out. The same thing that's happened in South Korea has also come to China as well.
Okay, that's interesting. It's where basically your looks become not only the chance for your success in your work, but the way your family is viewed. That is rough. I can see why.
Yep, that social ladder.
That is rough. Because one, you don't want. I can see why people would want to do that, because you don't want to see how. You don't want your family to be viewed negatively. You want to be successful. Definitely. That is a rough camp to be in, and why societally you're being forced into there's almost no choice. Like you have no choice at that point. You have to do it, and that is a rough environment to be in. When it's not only marketing wise everywhere, like what they're saying, like advertisement, like influencers, celebrities, everything is already in your face. Society itself is telling you if you don't look a certain way, you're not You're not
achieving anything in life, and even a higher promotion and job. You're screwed.
And on top
You're
of
not
that,
what we want. You're not the image. You have to be moved down.
and then that affects your family, and you don't want to make your family look bad.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible.
Industry is booming there now. The amount of people getting surgery increased by 600% between 2009 and 2018. This huge demand has led to a sharp spike in unlicensed and dangerous plastic
Once again, we're back to that.
That's led to some truly horrifying results. And what you're seeing here right now is the work of a mysterious figure known online as Dr. Kim. He came to prominence on TikTok after these videos showing his patients' uncanny transformations went viral. They're clear examples of what can go horribly wrong with plastic surgery.
Oh wow, my god,
Facelifts are so tight it looks completely unnatural, and people are paying a fortune for this. Their natural beauty has vanished under an artificial glaze, and you're left wondering whether they can even smile or frown anymore. Now it makes sense through the lens of cultural conformity. The pressures to look young and attractive are so high that people are led to these extremes and are willing to do anything to achieve that sense of perfection, even going to unlicensed butchers like Dr. Kim. And Tuv's series investigating these images has led to some really dark stories, as it appears that Dr. Kim is not one person but a pseudonym used by a shady unlicensed plastic surgery company called Shanghai Huzhong Medical Beauty Clinic. And from the evidence he gathered, they've been accused of using expired drugs,
I think we did a little bit.
Sued by multiple people and companies, and they've even trafficked counterfeited drugs to use in their practice. Whilst these pictures definitely aren't indicative of China's entire beauty industry, they do show where criminals can turn a profit from exploiting it. All the normal, even handsome people you see in the before pictures were unhappy with how they looked because their culture made them insecure. It opened the door to criminals looking to make an easy buck with no—
Oh, that's when you get into the dark side of things, like you can make a quick buck.
no regard for what their victims will have to live with for the rest of their lives. And it seems like the West is moving further towards this point of cultural conformity with the help of Instagram, the biggest promoter of these artificial beauty standards. Sure, there's more virtue signaling than ever. Everyday corporate media outlets tell people that differences are good and that we should love our own features and characteristics, whatever they might be. But at the same time, it does seem like we're going in the opposite direction. The pressures to have a perfect body and face is so high. Nearly everyone on TV and in films looks pretty much the same, all completely plastic, fake, and hollow. It doesn't matter what the context is in Hollywood now. If your shirt comes off in a movie, you need a six-pack and you need to be on steroids, and then also lie about it. The dating world is by far the best indicator for how selective people's beauty standards have become. With modern dating apps and our image-focused culture, your face needs to pass the swipe test before you can even play the game. More and more men and women get pushed out of the system, rejected because they no longer conform well enough to the modern Instagram face beauty standard and its male counterpart. And so much exposure to inhuman perfection on Instagram has warped people's standards and made a whole generation of lonely outcasts. There's even people talking about an incel revolution nowadays, as more and more people get pushed to the sidelines without any romantic interests, while at the same time, another huge section of people are becoming literally plastic. That's why you should never expose yourself to the toxic sludge that Instagram promotes, as every time you go on the app, you're subtly, subconsciously becoming more and more insecure. Disconnecting from Instagram's twisted beauty standards means that you can actually truly appreciate people that the rest of the world might not even see.
Okay. Guys, go ahead and check the video out. I will leave a link down below, how Instagram changed When Forever by Moon, if you guys want to see it yourself. So what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on that video?
Absolutely. It's been notorious, but now it's just like literally in our hands. It's in our faces, and we have to do what we're supposed to do to create this perfect life. And I feel like that's not healthy at all in any way.
And yeah, and we've talked about it, like everyone has their own set of beauties, but when their own set of beauties is being overshadowed by the like what you said, the perfect look, the Instagram face, it's kind of hard to do that, because yeah, you're, as much as you want to have that quote natural beauty online, it just gets overshadowed by the, like, for every one photo one person puts of their natural beauty, thousands, millions of other like fake photos. I don't want to say fake, because those are AI. Of unnatural photos get posted, and that's where we are right now, and we are not going to see any change anytime soon. So what are your thoughts here on just kind of how society has changed heavily because of these things?
It's scary. It's sad. I wonder what's going to happen for the future, for our children and their children. What's going to be the outcome? Are we gonna have this perfect society? Not likely. So it really it's upsetting on so many levels, and I hope for the best. I mean, but I guess we could just gotta strike the hammer a little harder on our phones and stuff like that. So.
What is it? Moderation when stuff like that, and because it definitely, and then just education. I think that's one of the few things when it comes to these things. It could do a lot, because people we've talked about stories that have this problem has ballooned other problems in the world.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like they mentioned a couple. They mentioned a few little ones, not little, but they mentioned a few just there. But on top of that, there's still a smorgasbord of other issues that has been piled on, and it's sad, disappointing.
Yes, it is.
What's gonna happen? We don't know yet, and we can just be here on the sidelines and just continue watching, and hopefully you'll see some of those bonus episodes where we be going through our timelines to see what the algorithm is going to feed us. Also, we also have to be doing some thumbnails photos soon too. So
yes, we'll get down to that.
But yeah, any final thoughts on this week's episode, Liz?
Be good to your mothers. You're beautiful, inside and out. Don't need that plastic surgery, and enjoy the weather in the Northwest here. It'll be short-lived, but it'll be fun.
All right, everyone. Thanks again for listening or watching. Until next time, see you.
Bye.